I just realized I made this all flowery and cute when the chapter is inspired by the 2016 movie Passenger, which is a space movie. Have fun! The great luxury interstellar spaceship Avalon, if I think I'm saying that right, was considered humanity's greatest achievement, being the first and most popular ship to travel between Earth and the second home planet. I'm going to butcher this name. Aurora? Through many years of service, they improved and changed in many ways to make sure each travel was successful. Some importance were not so smiled upon. We are very pleased that our estimated passengers will be the next set of the greatest heroes. We hope you have the best sleep and relaxation as we make our travel to our second home world. The captain smiled. This is so exciting. We get to become heroes on the planet Aurora. Isn't that amazing, guys? Achaka smiled to her two friends. Indeed, we will be the first heroes to go to, I'm just going to say Aurora, because I think that's how you say it. Edith smiled. Deku nodded as he looked around at the other heroes attending the trip. Many UA graduates were the ones going to make this journey. As he marveled at the grand ship, he noticed a lone figure within the ship, staring off into the distance. They were wearing the crew uniform, but the captain claimed that the whole crew was there to greet the passengers. The stranger had colored hair, smooth colored skin, and was about his age. Suddenly, a strange old woman tugged on the crew member's shoulders, forcing them to turn around and face her as the woman shook them. Deku was about to react when the ship security had activated and pulled the woman away. The strange crew member didn't seem to bother as they turned back to stare at the window. Deku was a bit strange, but thought the situation was difficult and turned back to his friends. As the strange crew watched as the passengers entered their sleeping pods, the captain approached. Yin, you know what to do. Make sure nothing goes wrong on this voyage, like you always do. You never let things go wrong before, the captain said. Do not stray from protocol. Yes, Captain. Yin nodded. Have fun. It's 50 years later. Daylog 18,250. Another asteroid fell and another damaged generator. I repaired and recalibrated them into perfect conditions. The pod and passengers are all safe. Metal structures is normal, Yin said with silent hesitation. This sends log, day 18,250. Yin worried. The ship double checking all the systems of the ship, which soon turned to triple checking, and so on. As Yin continued her stroll, only heard the sounds of her boots tapping onto the spotlessly cleaned floors. As they walked and checked the files from the corner of her eye, they saw a figure. They gasped and turned only to see that there was no one. Yin turned and searched around them, but it was just an empty space. They could have sworn they saw themselves crying. Slacking off sucks. As they continued the same fourth time repeat instructions routine, yet they did. Hilarious of them kept appearing. Hallucinations of themselves kept appearing in the corners of her eyes. Their hallucination shelves seemed to be interacting with simply no one. They smiled, laughed, and danced. This made Yin feel strange, almost hollow inside. They never felt this way and quickly tried to run from their hallucinations. There was no one to turn to. There was no protocol for this. They ran and ran, but there was no one to turn to. As they ran, not paying attention to their surroundings, they accidentally bumped into a random sleep pod. Yin winched and looked down at the pod the person inside the capsule to see the pro hero Deku. For the first time, the world seemed to fade around them, and everything started to seem brighter in color. The empty feeling seemed to be numbed a bit. The feeling of butterflies took over. They quickly looked at their pod number and rushed to the passenger records in the info booth. They had learned about Izuku Midoriya, or the hero Deku. Yin, for the first time, ever smiled as they listened to their crush's voice. For the first time was enough to starve off the feeling of emptiness, but over time it made them feel more alone and hollow. They started finding it harder and harder to focus on their work, to ignore their loneliness. They found themselves drawn more to Izuku and happy just admiring, but that too soon wasn't enough to numb the loneliness. One day, Yin stared at the sleeping hero, and voices started to whisper in their head to wake up the hero. Just a small conversation would be enough, the voice templed them. You don't have to be alone anymore. Yin slowly reached out to the pod settings. They slowly started entering the emergency display code. After successfully putting in the requirements, a small compartment opened to expose a red button. Once pressed, the pod would deactivate, waking up the subject. You can finally talk to him. Be with him, the voice whispered. But they gasped as they snapped out of the trance and stopped themselves from pushing the button and waking him up. Were they just about to sabotage the passengers' rest and rob them of their future? Yin's rules and objectives is to make sure that the guests sleep through 90% of the trip. If the pod were to open before that, the pod would no longer function until the trip reached its destination, a destinative planet. But by then, the passenger wouldn't have died of old age. Staring in horror at their actions, they quickly ran out of the room and entered their private quarters and activated the Phoenix Protocol, a machine activated to receive 2 large tubes, big enough for one to stand in. The left tube opened and waited for someone to enter. Yin was about to step in when they hesitated. I don't want to die, but I don't want to be alone either, Yin thought to themselves. Suddenly the ship shook violently, throwing them back onto the ground. Without a second thought, Yin rushed to see the damage. The device didn't activate, so they had to wait 10 minutes for the machine to reboot and update with the most recent. Just then the computer was about to react. Hello? Is anyone awake? Anyone? A familiar voice called out. Yin gasped as they left the room to see what the issue was. As they ran through the halls, they suddenly ran into someone who was coming from around the corner. Ah, I'm really sorry, a male voice spoke out. You looked up to see who it was, the pro hero Deku? Yin could only stare in slight fear, unsure of what to do in this situation, or what to even say to him. They thought that this was just bad hallucination, so they ran away and straight to the pod room to see the pod was indeed open. One of the plating from the ceiling had loosened from the shaking and fallen, and managed to smash the deactivate button. Fear began to grip them even more, when suddenly a gentle tap on their shoulder. Yin gasped and turned to see it was Deku. The pro hero slowly backed away and tried to calm the panicked crew member. Deku managed to calm Yin down and was even able to get them to sit in the cafeteria with him over some drinks. Two stared off very awkwardly, only managing short conversations, mostly about the pod situation, and Yin explaining how it can't be fixed till the ship reaches the second Earth, leaving out how it was their fault for the situation. So Deku turned to the topic. He thinks it is good conversation starter. Quirks. You want to know my quirk? Yin asked slowly. If that's okay with you, Deku asked shyly. Well, it's called longevity, and it works exactly how it sounds, Yin said quickly. Oh, so how long have you been working here? And was it because your quirk that you work on the ship? Deku asked with a smile. Well, not entirely. On the first trip of the ship ever, something went wrong and maintenance robots didn't do their job, so I was woken up to maintain the ship, and that's what I have been doing since, Yen explained. Because of my quirk, time doesn't affect me like others, so my lifetime may pass on this voyage, but I won't change. It must be hard working out here all by yourself. You're not awake the entire time, are you? Deku asked in concern. Sadly, because you can never know if something goes wrong. Yen spoke sadly. The conversation kind of died there. When Deku's stomach was calling for food, Yin and Deku chuckled as the crew attendant happily led the pro hero to one of the 5-star restaurant options. The two slowly grew closer as time went on. Yin would show him how to gather data from the ship, how to clean each part of it, to fix some of the robots, and even some dangerous repairs. One day, Yin was demolished one of these repairs as Deku watched. Suddenly, one of the bots burst from its hold from the sudden pressure. The bolt lunged itself into Yin's arm. As they cried out in pain, Izuku tried to pull them away to get them to the medical center, but Yin only powered through to finish the repairs. Why would you do that? You could have lost your arm or something, Deku said in a worried mother tone. This is a minor comparison to others. Most of the time I simply use my medic pod to fix my injuries, Yin said nonchalantly. And you had to deal with these on your own? Deku said with a sad expression. Deku thought that Yin deserved a well-earned break, so he asked them to show off the ship. From Yin listening intently on Deku's rambles, on his nerdy knowledge, to playing games in the arcade and sports section of the ship, and cuddling in a luxury suite. The two grew closer and even closer and closer. Yin would even start addressing Deku by his real and first name. As the two grew more attached, the more Yin duties slipped her mind. 1 year later, one day as Yin wandered about the ship looking for Izuku to find him staring at the window at the stars, his cheeks were wet with tears. Are you okay? Yin asked. I know, Izuku shuddered. Reality of the instance is starting to sink in. With my pod out of commission, I'm not going to live to see the second world. I'm going to outlive my friends who are on this ship. The reason why I came was to help out as a hero in the second world, but I guess not. Yin only froze at his words. As guilt began to squeeze her heart, tears welled up in her eyes. I'm sorry, I'll leave you to that, Yin shuddered as she tried to leave. Can you not stay for too long? Izuku asked nervously as his cheeks turned cherry red. Yeah, I just need to do quick maintenance, Yin said as they hurried away. Yin walked away as tears began to pour down their face. Locking themselves in their work quarters, their hearts squeezed tightly because difficult to breathe properly as they wept, so finally gathered the courage. They were going to tell Izuku the truth.